Welcome to Room for All, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of inclusive employment and explore the power of creating opportunities for people with disabilities. I'm Andrea Comastri, CEO and co-founder of Hotel Etico, Australia's first not-for-profit social enterprise hotel.
And I am Soraya O'Connell, General Manager of Hotel Etico. Together, we'll be your hosts as we talk about the importance of breaking down barriers in the workplace. We will have a particular focus on hospitality and other customer-facing roles, and how businesses can lead the charge toward inclusion.
At Hotel Etico, we believe that everyone deserves the fair chance to succeed. And we've made it our mission to not only provide jobs, but to build meaningful careers for people with disabilities. On this podcast, we will be sharing success stories, best practice, and inspiring conversations with industry leaders from the hospitality sector, the disability sector, other social enterprises, philanthropy, and of course, our own trainees, graduates, and staff.
Whether you're a business owner, an advocate for inclusion, or someone curious about the future of work, this podcast is for you.
So come and join us at Hotel Etico, or as we call it, the Hotel California for the Heart, a place where once you've checked in, your heart will never leave.
So let's get started and open the doors for all.
Well, welcome to Room for All. It's a pleasure to have you here, Managing Director and co-founder of Umbo. Tell us, in a few words, who is Wei and what is Umbo?
Thank you, Andrea, and thank you,
Nice
Soraya.
pronunciation.
Yes, you rolled the R.
Nailed it. Excellent.
Nailed it.
I can go home now, can't I?
Yeah.
I've done everything I've needed to
Mate,
do.
your
Tick
work
the
here
box.
is done.
Umbo is a social enterprise. We focus on people in regional Australia. Many people in regional Australia have to wait a long time to get basic allied health services.
Oh my God, yes.
And so we're talking 18 months is pretty standard. And by the way, that hasn't gotten better in the last 8 years since we've been working on this issue. So we do all of our therapy online. Our therapists are all over Australia, some overseas as well, travelling, moving in different parts of the world with their partner. And as a social enterprise, we also put 50% of our profit aside, and we use that when people can't afford to pay. So we'll
Okay.
subsidise the cost of their therapy up to 100%.
Wow.
That's, wow. Very interesting. So I worked for a therapy provider that focused on telehealth. I'm going to say another lifetime ago because it feels like Hotel Etico is my life. But yeah, so I'm very, very interested in this conversation because you're right about people that can't afford it. And it happens a lot.
So tell us why, first of all, you do this yourself. Why are you doing what you're doing? And why Umbo? Where does it come from, the name?
I'll start with the second one. That's easy. So the way we come about this, and if anyone is interested in starting something, I do actually recommend our method of working out a name. So it was very, very scientific. We opened up a website called Random Word Generator, and we clicked submit until we found a short word where the URL wasn't taken. And that was pretty much it. And then we kind of like...
so cool.
You might be my fan. Oh, this is great.
And then we kind of like back justified the meaning of the word.
Oh, yeah.
So it is the tip of the shield or an inner part of the ear. And both are kind of relevant to what we do in various ways, but honestly, not that important.
Okay.
Yeah. And in terms of why, my background's physiotherapy, and then I've worked mostly in charities. And then having worked overseas in charities, and then since then wrote this book, Redundant Charities, which I have 2 copies for you.
Presents.
Oh,
I don't have a pen, but I'll sign them for you later.
I have one.
do.
Okay,
Yeah,
I can't
we'll sign that
multitask, so
after.
we'll do it afterwards.
Escaping the cycle of dependence.
Yeah, so
Wow.
it looks into why charities often don't actually end issues. They tend to keep issues at bay. And also, just before this podcast recording, I was talking to Kylie, and she said she was in a room in a strategy meeting with this charity, and someone put on the whiteboard, how do we make sure that we exist in 10 years? This is the charity. That kind of signifies everything, all the energy that goes into maintaining the structure as opposed to eliminating the problem.
Yeah, if we cease to exist, we've done our job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on the way we cease to exist.
That's true. That's true.
Because if you asked me 6 months ago, we were a couple of steps away from ceasing to exist
Most
as an
social
organization.
enterprises. And
That wouldn't have been the way I would have liked to
No,
go.
but what I'm saying is I think
But
that,
I know what you mean.
Yeah. You know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
I think social enterprises, though, I mean, and Umbo, I'll speak about Umbo, I won't speak about Hotel Edico at all. It's not my place to speak about your business. But with Umbo, it's a for-profit business where as we grow, we actually do more good.
Yes.
And I think that is completely different to charities. In my opinion, charities shouldn't grow. They should shrink and they should end. But the beauty of our model is that we help more people in the day-to-day running of our business, and then that 50% profit gets larger and larger. So in the last 4 years, we've given away over 300 grand of free or subsidised services.
Amazing.
Which is huge impact, let alone in the day-to-day
Everybody
running.
walking past?
That's interesting.
That's great.
I mean, this is probably for a longer conversation, but I don't think the differentiating is between charity or not charities to sort of grow or not grow. I think it's about the business model. Because if we are a charity, we're not for profit. Okay. But we operate as a social enterprise, which is obviously balances the profit and the purpose. Yeah. And so I think it's about what the motivation is about as opposed to the business model. But I agree, and I think this is a very current conversation in the sector, that growth is not always the answer. Growth often can be actually the reason why you end up closing because you've gone too far. Right. But sometimes, or in our opinion, growth of our organisation means reaching more people.
More people for us.
But we need to grow in a sustainable way. So,
it has to be sustainable.
It's a very interesting conversation.
What I meant by if we didn't exist, it means that there's inclusion everywhere.
Yeah.
That's our ultimate goal.
Which is a nice dream.
Yeah, of course.
I'll fight for it.
But I'm sure we'll be needed for a
very long time.
If we get it right.
I think by that stage, baristas are more likely to be able to pronounce your names correctly. So let's just be more realistic about what's going to happen.
We can only hope.
So, tell us about the success of Umbo. Like, what makes you happy about what you do? What have you been doing right?
Well, firstly, survival. You know, as you know, it is hard enough to run a business, let alone a social enterprise with all the challenges you face. So I think surviving is one thing, but also we have become and been profitable and maintained that profitability for a number of years.
That's amazing.
Great.
You know, and we've ticked off a lot of the other markers, you know, paying dividends and now paying our non-executive directors and, you know, all the things that we sort of want to do to show that we can sustain our good has happened. We've grown, you know, again, you talk about growth, we've grown to 65 people now that are working with us. So these are all really good markers. And then I think at the same time, we've stayed true. To our mission. You know, the three founders are still heavily involved in the business day to day, and our mission is constitutionally locked. It's in our constitution. It can't be wiped away.
Good.
And I think that's really important because we don't want to sacrifice on our original intentions.
And what's, in very simple terms, without going too deep into it, but what's the business model? Where does the money come from? Who pays for the services?
So a lot of our funding comes through the client, so not directly to us, but the clients are funded by the NDIS, which has its own challenges.
We're an NDIS registered provider. We're
40% of our revenue is NDIS.
Okay. Yeah. So speaking of
and
converted,
you just had a pretty interesting price upgrade. On the first
or downgrade as
well. I didn't want to say downgrade.
So
it's very controversial.
Fortunately, it didn't affect us this time around, but it's worrying that at the stroke of a pen, it can change your whole business.
I know. It is.
So I think, however, if we want to work with vulnerable people, we have to accept that we're working with the NDIS. There's no real way around that.
100%.
Of course. So you've got to work within the system. Yeah.
But then that 50% profit that I talked about, so there's a very specific gap that we cover, which is people, in order to get access to NDIS, often need to have an occupational therapist do a report.
I know, yes.
Oh, you know this?
Yeah, functional capacity assessment.
Right.
There's a lot. One of our graduates who just graduated wasn't on the NDIS, and it's very expensive to get those reports to apply for the NDIS. It's very, very
So do you offer that service yourself as
That's the subsidised model. So we subsidise a lot of these assessments. It's in some ways the more complex you are and the more vulnerable you are, the more you have to pay.
It is.
So people who have complex mental health conditions somehow need to fork out $4,000 to $5,000 to get this done. And that to me is a huge market failure that we can address through our model. So that's where a lot of that $300,000 that I've mentioned has gone towards subsidising those.
Which is absurd if you think about it, because you're subsidising the government.
Yep.
And that shouldn't be the case.
Agreed.
But, I mean, we are motivated by a higher purpose. That's what we are, right, in this sector.
But if you know of people who, you know, would be suitable for that program, are looking to go onto NDIS and have FCAs that need done, please send them our way.
Yeah.
And we're one of probably very few people who would do it at a subsidised cost.
Okay.
Fantastic.
That's great.
And where are you geographically?
All over. So,
Everywhere.
I'm based in Sydney, obviously, at the moment, and all of our therapists are all over the country. Then there's about 20% who, for example, I'll use a specific example, started in Melbourne, husband got a job in Barcelona. Our therapist thought, well, I can live in Barcelona and still do my work.
Telehealth.
That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Great.
So, now lives overseas in Barcelona.
I want to go to Barcelona.
Fantastic.
I'm
Sounds
jealous.
great.
I can't do my
I
work
was there
in
last year in
Barcelona.
June. It was amazing.
Yeah, I did.
What's next for Umbo? Next few years? What's going to happen?
Well, one of the things we've done really specifically is just double down on what we do well, which is occupational therapy and speech. But we are replicating quite well now. So we're now looking at the next allied health professions to add to the list to see if we can help more people with things that are really needed. And mental health is an obvious one,
Yes.
I think. So it goes without saying that that's one we're really interested in. And that would help us to get more and more support out there and then to continue to grow.
Can I throw a question at you? Because when I worked for a therapy company, speech therapists are a dime a dozen. Like they're very hard to
What does
find.
that mean? Is that a say? So
like
it's hard to
the
find.
wait lists are huge. I feel like there aren't many coming out of university. Do you think that we should start educating in schools for people to become therapists? Like, this is just random conversation, but
I think there are opening up university courses. They're working on the supply side of things.
Yeah.
There's also, retention, because I'm not sure about speech, but for physio, which is my background, I think the average career span only lasts about 7 years.
Yeah.
And I'm a good example. Didn't stick around. So there's a whole bunch of people that are working on that at that level.
Yeah.
And then we also need the people like us that are opening up the market so that they
Yes.
can engage. Because speech therapists in Barcelona can now do therapy for someone in Broken Hill.
Yeah.
Why not? We have the technology, we have
Yeah,
the
why can't we?
systems. We should make it work.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So
That's very
you're just going to
good.
go worldwide.
That would be nice.
Before we go on to the last question that we always ask everyone, I'm going to ask you a question that we've asked a few of our guests, not everyone, but let's see what you come up with. If your enterprise was a dish on a menu, what would it be? You probably had the
Yeah,
advantage
you
of
heard it.
listening
You
into
heard
the
the
previous
question, so
person,
you've
so
had
you knew it was
time.
coming.
Absolutely not. I'm very spontaneous. I went with eggplant parmigiana. I don't know. That was one of the first thoughts that came to my head.
Really?
Okay.
And then now, similar to that name generator, I'm going to justify it backwards.
Yeah, why?
But basically, it's a very hearty, nutritious, substantial dish. It's not necessarily the sexiest, I feel, like pizza.
Oh, you could make it.
Okay.
Well, it's
put some rocket on
more
top.
homey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's homely. It's not like a donut, which is,
Nah.
sexy.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe.
So that's kind of why I went with it. It's fulfilling, it's nutritious, it does its job. And
Eggplants are very good for you, aren't they? I don't eat eggplant.
But it's, it's very,
Yeah.
but I mean, they're fried and everything. It's not necessarily the healthiest.
that's true.
Because it's still quite loaded, but it's Nonna's food, right?
Right.
It's
it makes you
comfort
feel
food.
good
That's
in the heart.
right. Great.
Aw,
Very
love
great
it.
answer. Great answer.
Love
so
it.
what's one thing before as we wrap up, what's one thing that we haven't spoken about that you really would like people to hear from you today?
I think the main thing for me is that the structure supports what you're trying to do, which is what we
Yeah.
sort of discussed already. And, be it a charity, and by the way, I'm not someone who says that charities shouldn't exist. I think they
Yeah.
absolutely should.
I know it.
Because there are some there are some issues that businesses cannot fix. I'm glad we have social enterprise as another option. But I think it's just making sure that the structure suits what we're trying to achieve and is aligned to our mission, and that we really focus on that how. So I mentioned previously in workshop that we often talk about, because of Simon Sinek, why, how, and
The
what.
why, yes.
We
yes.
talk about the why a lot. What's
Yes,
your background, what's your
yes.
story? Of course, we talk about what because it's what we do. How is really, really
I
hard
love that.
to
I love that.
work out.
You
Yeah,
just
I
spoke
love
his
that.
language.
No, I love that. I love that because I often use myself
he
the fact of
does.
starting with the why.
Yeah.
But to me, the how is so fundamental. And we always, when
always
we
time.
communicate how Hoteletico operates, our how is so unique and so different
very
and
hard to
so
explain
specific that it's the secret recipe to our solution, right?
Exactly.
To the solution we find and the impact that we have. So the how is fundamental. I agree.
That'll be for our next 4-hour podcast.
That's
Well,
right.
yes.
That's right.
Let's do it. You'll have to come up to Hotel Etico. You are Sydney-based.
I can think of worse.
And
things.
for people that are listening, where can they find you? What's the best way of finding out about you?
So Umbo is umbo.com.au.
Very good name.
My name is very unique as well, so I'm easy to find on LinkedIn as well. And then the book is Redundant Charities.
Yeah, I'm going to hold it up to this camera.
Yes, and to
Yeah.
this camera as well.
Redundantcharities.com, very easy to find.
Very, very good. And we'll definitely get you to sign it
Yeah.
as we hang up the microphone.
I'm just going to put it
Thank you, Wei.
Thanks.
Really appreciate your coming onto the podcast.
Thanks for
Really
coming
enjoyed
on
it.
for all.
And talk to you later.
Thank you, Andrea and Sarah.
Thank you.